Okay,
it's recording. Hi.
okay, hi.
And we can talk
Okay.
about leaving. I mean, the process, how actually it was part of Warburg work at the beginning and then
Yeah,
parted from that.
yeah. It was part of Warble Work, and because it was part of this big sort of community commission fundraiser. When
Hmm.
I was first doing my master's degree, a whole lot of people gave me money so that I could do it, um, and so in response, I wrote a piece for all of them, and so that was on Salt Spring Island, and so the the warblers, the thrushes of warble work were sort of that was sort of about the natural environment, but then there's this great fiddler that lives
Yeah.
on Salt Spring,
Yeah.
um, who, for the purposes of this, we'll call her Jamie RT because that's how you find her online as a fiddler. But her name is also
Oh,
Zav.
yeah, of course.
Um, RT, and like the letters RT. And she has this beautiful piece, which is also called Leaving, and a wonderful recording where she plays this very simple melody. And the late, great Oliver Schroer was
Mhm.
improvising along with it. Just a lovely recording, very warble-like actually.
It's beautiful.
So the piece is based on that,
Hmm.
and but then when it came time to do the recording for the CD, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago,
Two
two,
years ago.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
um, uh, uh, sort of in the balance of the CD and the balance of the piece in general, um, we decided that it needed something else. It needed, like, Leaving needed to be a different piece, and Warble Work actually needed one more bird
Hmm.
in it, so it was four birds instead of three. So so Leaving became a separate
Right.
thing. Yeah.
It really stand by itself, you know. I find it's just, I mean, yeah, it's a simple melody, but it has so much, and you leave us so much in it, so much freedom, and yeah, it's great to play. We love to play it. We've been playing it actually quite a bit this summer. During the pandemic, we organized outside concerts a lot
Oh
throughout
yeah.
Montreal. We can't now anymore because of weather, obviously, but we programmed it for quite a few of these concerts, and yeah, it was great to play. Okay, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room, and then it's out because it's still on my mind. So it's a crappy day, but it's gonna get better maybe. It's on my chest.
Oh, the world's a bit of a mess right now, isn't it?
Hmm.
But it's interesting also. I mean, I don't know. This is all related because um, I don't know. It's kind of with all this stuff and all of the concerts being canceled, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know what it's like as a performer, but as a composer, to be like, yeah, why are we doing this? And it's not like there's no answer. There's answers, and they're more meaningful than they were before, I think. But it's like, um, um, it's just interesting to be working in a world where everything is sort of stressful and dangerous everywhere. Like it's,
Hmm. Well, we get a new perspective almost. It's like we went back and look and yeah, in another view, I guess, or another way of looking at things. I feel.
and people engage with music differently. Like with this concert, it's really interesting to think, what is it that people need
Hmm.
from a live event, a live stream or something, because I mean, something that the Bozzinis have always been really good at is treating the internet kind of like this archive of knowledge. Like, your website is amazing and it's got all of this stuff about all of the pieces, all of the composers, and clips of everything. And it's just like, I mean, I'm not sure everybody knows that they can go to the bottom of your website and click on those links, and there's just so much there as this, like, yeah, kind of permanent library,
Hmm.
and and freely accessible.
Right.
And so then it's interesting to think, like, what do people need from a live event? And uh, I I think that if I hadn't seen any live streaming events, I would be skeptical because I'd be like, well, why don't we just go listen to a recording or something? But I watched this amazing concert the other day by Richard Dawson, who's one of my favorite like folk uh, doesn't really cover it, folk pop punk singers. And I watched it a few hours later just because that worked better for me, you know. And it was still great because
Right.
he was captured in the moment of being live, you know. So it's like there's a vulnerability and a sharing, and there's something captured about live video and audio that is totally different than a
Mhm.
produced.
But there is this sense of immediacy or connection that way, and even with the rest of the public that will watch and listen at the same time as you, even though it can be like
Yeah.
continents away, which is also pretty cool, I find.
Um, in the email where you prepped me for this, you said that we might talk about the piece or how we met or like nice memories or
Yeah.
experiences. And I was like, oh my God, there's so many. I remember all of the things that are coming to my mind are about food, which is funny because I know that I know that there's some amazing things about music too, which are obviously the big things. But like that party that you mentioned, I remember frying some chicken in like an open pan on the stove, but there was also a rainstorm. So the ground was like really slippery because the rain was coming into the kitchen window. And then there was like kids like running back and forth. And I was like, someone's going to end up in the hospital. But still, I was like, la, 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 la. Just like making like just piles and piles and piles of fried chicken. There was Pizza Palooza, if you remember.
I forgot. Yeah,
And I can't even really remember. I mean, okay, so it was already extraordinary because we were in Bologna together,
yeah,
and so was Philip Thomas
yeah,
and Lawrence Crane
yeah,
and Apartment House,
yeah,
Anton and everybody else.
yeah,
And it was just after a concert, there was like nothing open, but there's one pizza
yeah,
place that where there's just closing, and there was seating outside, and so we're like, no, 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 there's like 16 of us, and they're like, well, you have to order like right now. So like there was like two of us there first, and we're like, okay, 16 pizzas or something like. And I was like, there's no room for them on the table, and we're all trying to, oh my God,
oh
oh, it's
yeah,
amazing.
the feeling was great. Yeah, there's always like after a show, this like in a city that you don't know, this moment where everything is closed and you don't know where you're gonna eat. Everybody's hungry and there's like scrambling to find a place, to get food. So the hunger and the excitement, like the adrenaline was really high. And it was such a relief to see all those pizzas coming out.
Yeah.
I think we ate everything. I think
We did in the end, yeah. I mean, I think it was a hilariously large amount of food, but also it looked hilarious because it could not fit on the table. And and then the other food thing was that when I was working in the office, um, uh, I'd like eat lunch or dinner uh, there, like I don't know, like 3 or 4 times a week. Like it was something ridiculous. And I mean, it was just like work a bit late and then it'd be dinner time and they're like, oh, maybe Cassandra should come upstairs. And also it would be, lunchtime, like, and lunch would be like, you'd go upstairs and Clements would like take out like the homemade schmaltz and you'd be
yeah,
like, oh my God, this is amazing.
yeah. And
And
there's always like 3, 4 pots like lined up for a different, dish.
yeah, yeah, there's like the pot of chimichurri and the pot of like, it's like all like already, there was just a lot of food and wine, like that was, yeah, it's pretty lovely it was pretty lovely to be part of that in Montreal too, when I was, away from home and
Mhm.
have a sort of family atmosphere around food and drink and work. And I don't know, it's just really,
Music also.
and music also. Yeah.
But what is music without everything else, right?
What's music about everything else? Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing back some those memories, you know, to me. That was great.
Yeah, likewise, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could, if we were just to talk about fun memories, we could probably have like a 2 hour show, just me and you.
Yes. Yeah. I
And
think.
they're all like poignant and meaningful. Like there's none that are just like,
Mm.
and then we did this random thing. Like they're even like in the office, like every grant was an adventure. Like
It still is. It still is.
it's like yeah, that. Oh, okay. Much love to you. Mwah,
To you
mwah,
too. You take care.
mwah.